Why did I do that? Okay. I guess. Yeah. Can we get some water? Maybe close that, please. Yeah. Okay. That thing need to go from there. That doesn't belong there. Yeah. It should be in the back. I don't know why it is in the front. Come on, John, please come. Please, please come. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We could maybe bring it. Can we bring a little bit so that we have enough space? Here, here. Everybody good? You could squeeze a little bit, sir. Or you could come on this side, balance it out, please. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Everything is good. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you for being here, and I appreciate you all being here. As you know, early voting ended last Friday, and as we approach upcoming election, which is tomorrow, Tuesday, March 5th, I want to reaffirm our commitment to upholding the integrity of electoral process and ensuring transparency every step of the way. In our pursuit of fairness to more than 530,000 registered voters in Fort Bend County, it became necessary to address discrepancies resulting from 2021 redistricting. During the early voting phase, it came to our attention that a handful of households were incorrectly coded. While this is indeed concerning, I want to emphasize that the impact of these errors are minimal. And we are thoroughly assess the situation and determine that the affected voters constitute only a small fraction of the electorate. As such, we do not anticipate these coding errors to materially affect the outcome of tomorrow's election. Today, our election department administrator, John Odom, and his team have diligently worked along with our district attorney, Brian Middleton, and his Public Integrity Division, and of course my office, to rectify these discrepancies today so that tomorrow this doesn't exist in Fort Bend County. I will ask each of them to come up and give us a report, but I want to assure that our office remains steadfast in our commitment to ensuring that a fair election process in Fort Bend County. And we will continue to address this issue and make sure this is never happen in Fort Bend County again. At this time, I will ask our district attorney, Brian Middleton, along with his chief of staff, Sharon Thompson, to come up and give their report, please.
Good morning. I'm Brian Middleton, Fort Bend County District Attorney. Some years ago, we started what we call the Joint Election Integrity Task Force. This task force consists of my office, the Fort Bend County District Attorney's office, and other departments within the county. We've maintained a complaint hotline and a process for people who feel that there's a problem with the election process to file their complaints. The whole purpose of this task force is to ensure that election laws are followed, and two, that people's right, right to vote is protected. So the chief of our Public Integrity Division is Sharon Thompson. I will ask her to come to the mic and explain why we're here today. Thank you.
So our division was alerted of this issue late last week. And we immediately, as part of our investigation, reached out to the elections office, and they notified us that they were already aware of the issue, that the issue had been corrected, and that those corrections would go into effect so that those intending to vote would get the correct ballot. But we didn't stop there. We sort of proactively asked, what are some things we can do to increase our confidence that this isolated event is isolated and wouldn't affect voters going into election voting? And we worked with the elections administrator. We took a two-step approach of sort of, one, checking our work, and two, empowering voters to be advocates for themselves. Mr. Oldham is here, and he's going to talk about what he did over the weekend in his efforts to correct the problem. But voters can go to the Fort Bend County TX.gov website. There's an interactive map there that will allow them to identify their precinct. We're asking voters to know their precinct when they go into the polls. And so if they get a ballot and they are presented with a precinct race, because that's where it'll be most apparent, that is inconsistent with what that interactive map shows or what they know their precinct to be, they then will notify their poll worker. The poll worker can notify the elections office, and the issue can be remedied then and there with a manual ballot before they cast their ballot. The takeaway for voters is to know your precinct before you go vote and to resolve any questions or doubts about the precinct before you cast your ballot, because once you do, it can't be uncast.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Thomas. At this time, I will ask our election administrator, John Odom, to give his report. John?
Thank you, Judge, and thank you for the opportunity to bring some clarity. On the first day of the second week of early voting, or actually the second day of the second week, we were informed that some voters were being given a ballot for a different precinct. We researched this and discovered that in 2021, we had moved 3 streets who were orphaned from their own neighborhood into the correct area. Unfortunately, we only recoded one of them and did not the other. That affected 24 addresses. Unfortunately, the first of those voters voted on the first day, but we didn't find out about it for 6 or 7 more days. And that's why it's important that if somebody does truly believe that they're getting the wrong ballot, that they tell us so we can fix it before other people vote. Over the last few days, we've been reviewing all the changes that were made during redistricting, and that there's quite a few of them. We have reviewed 168 out of 175 precincts so far, which represents 6 out of what we would say are 18,630 street ranges. A street range might be 1 address, it might be 50 addresses. So far, in this review, we found 2 more street ranges that were incorrect. But altogether, with the first ones and these 2, it represents less than 100 out of 532,661 voters. So these are things we're constantly trying to monitor. It's a challenge in Fort Bend because we have new streets being added to our database every week with the tremendous growth we have. But we want to make sure that every voter gets to vote who's entitled to vote and that they get to vote on the correct races.
Thank you. Thank you, John. I appreciate it. We will continue to address any issue that arises with utmost diligence and integrity. Your trust in our democracy is paramount, and we are fully dedicated to upholding it. And as you heard from our district attorney and also election administrator, check the precinct map before you head to the polls and review the ballot which you're receiving. Ensure it reflects proper voting precinct as well as the appropriate positions and candidates you intend to vote. Prior to casting your ballot, report any concern. As you just heard from John, I'm just reiterating, talk to the election judge and they can correct that there and then so that that problem doesn't exist. And most likely you will be done checking all the precinct by this evening. And so hopefully it is not an issue, but we wanted to let our citizens know what happened. And as we have said, handful of households were affected by the precinct discrepancy. While it is a minor blip on the radar, I want to emphasize that we are taking it as a serious matter, and we are committed to remedy this issue, as you heard from John, and make sure something like this never happen in Fort Bend County. It is our fundamental principles that lies at the heart of our democracy, voting, and the power of each and every individual's voice, and we are doing everything possibly we can do to ensure your voice is heard. And that will conclude this, and if you have any question, we will address that this time. So do you have any questions? Okay, and thank you, and once again, anyone wanted to add anything? Anything so far is good?
I just would like to
Please,
say,
yeah.
just for our voting public, we have identified, we've done the investigation, identified that this is an isolated incident. You should still have confidence in the election process. We have some very dedicated employees in Fort Bend County who have been working around the clock to ensure the integrity of this process, and their process continues. So you should feel confident when you go to vote tomorrow that you will be casting your vote correctly. If you have any concerns, please address that at the time you vote with the election worker, and I can assure you procedures and processes are in place to ensure that your right to vote is protected. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. That will conclude this press conference. Thank you for everybody coming, and we will conclude this here. Thank you. How you doing? Nice to see you. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
How are you doing, sir? Pretty good. How are you doing?
Great. No complaints. Just working.
I hear you.
You doing okay?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Hanging in there.
I know, we all. It's like constant, you know, so, yeah.
It's all good.
It's good. Thanks for coming over.
Hey, no problem.
I took your visual.
Yeah.
Like you said, forever.
I know, I didn't realize that. They can't say I didn't vote. Yeah, they can say I didn't vote. He's great. Yeah.
Well, we'll see how much traction it gets.
Oh, it'll go. It hits social media, it's gonna explode.
Well,